that is going to be kind of the end. So what we should expect, George, is that these events are taking place now. They will continue to take place. By the time we get to that date, we're going to make it through. That's when we can all say, okay, let's have a big sigh of relief. We made it through the storm. We should understand the storm is on now. Now, the stargates that are opening now, that is what we should pay real close attention to also. Now, what do I mean by stargates? Well, the stargates are where others can come in. The stargates allow ETs, for example.
Is that a good thing, or is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, for most, it's a good thing. There are a few of those that we're being protected. They don't really wish us well at all. In fact, their intentions are not good. However, we have to kind of leave that to our off-planet protectors. There are some ETs that do not have our best interests in mind at all, and the Mayans are very, very, very aware of that. And in some of their pictographs, they depict that, oh my gosh, if this one comes in, this is a bad boy. However, those that are our protectors, they have protected us in the past. They will protect us in the future. They have been, and that's where the interventions will take place. Those that are going to intervene in our favor, they're not going to come down here onto planet Earth and do that. Where their intervention will take place is off-planet, and the Mayans are very clear about that.
And these visitations that occurred in the past, they weren't all friendly then either, were they?
Oh, no, they weren't all friendly at all. And some of those visitations that the biblical record has, also if we go back in the Native American records, if we go back in the Indian records, and I'm talking about of India, we can see in the record that some of the ET interventions, no, these were not favorable for us at all. In fact, there were some real tumultuous, cataclysmic times that were perpetrated by them. However, we do have, and I do want to say, we do have some real benefactors that are working very, very much in our favor. The ones that we have to be careful of are the reptilians, okay?
Well, we've heard that. Now explain that, though.
Okay.
I want to get your take on it.
We can, as it was relayed to me, we all have a bit of a reptilian gene in us as part of our brain, and the intervention that took place into the human race, and this was probably a couple 100,000 years ago, there was some genetic material that was spliced in to counterbalance that reptilian influence. And the reptilians, and I have seen them, I have seen the visuals of them, no, they are not here in our favor. And those are the ones we have to be very, very wary of. Fortunately, there has been a genetic intervention that has taken place. It does counteract the reptilian aspect of our brain, and we are able to absorb the information that we need to survive that reptilian influence. And we have to leave it in the hands of our off-planet benefactors to block the reptilians out. Now, the Mayans are they were very, very clear about that. And when you pull the reptilians up in the skull, oh my gosh, you recognize right away that is not something that you want to have any interaction with at all.
Fascinating. Now, the work that you've been doing for all these years, let's go back just a little bit before we hit the top of the hour. Why or how did you get involved?
Well, I was on a manufacturing project down in Mexico, George, and I didn't realize at the time that I was going to be the conveyor of the crystal skull up into the New World. I did not realize that I was going to be the one that was going to convey the message on tonight. However, I was when I was down there and I was identified as the one that was going to be challenged, I'll say, to do this. When I was basically told to come back, I was kicked out. I was told, Richard, you cannot stay. You have to go back. The time will come in this time of change when you will be speaking to masses of people. Well, here we are tonight. Now, up until a very short time ago, George, I had no idea how I was going to convey the message that the Mayan calendar ends on 2012. That is the end of the Mayans. But it is not the end of the technology that they protected for all these eons for us. We now have confirmation that quantum science is real. We have confirmation that, yes, there are going to be earth changes coming up, but we can, in fact, survive them if we use our intellects and we do not subscribe to those who wish to suppress us. And the Mayans spent an awful lot of time and energy and, in fact, expended a lot of lives to make sure those messages came forward. Now, in those 30 years, and where I'm involved now, I am involved in some very advanced technology, in technologies that help clean and purify water, for example, technologies that could help clear and purify air, in technologies that could lead into advanced medical protocols, and also in technologies for advanced power generation and propulsion systems. When I came back from the Mayan experience, I was involved with Captain Robert Truax in what was called Project Private Enterprise. We actually did our own satellite launch system, and I found myself in the 1970s being interviewed on one of the early programs of 2020. And we actually developed an ion propulsion rocket ion propulsion system. We were successful. That did not become knowledge. It was covered over. It was subdued, but we were very successful there. Now that very same technology today is something that hopefully we're going to be able to come forward with that will help generate power and electricity for homes, that will take care of the power needs that we have to have for our future.
Fascinating. Richard, we're going to open up the phone lines next hour, and we're going to give you a chance to talk with Richard Shafsky about the skulls. Indeed, indeed, and we're going to take your phone calls next with our special guest, Richard Shafsky, on Coast to Coast AM. Richard, you must enjoy the work you've done on the crystal skulls. Oh,
George, it's enjoyment of just the highest order. It's an absolute honor. It's been the honor of a lifetime. It has presented the opportunity to work with in the community of people that are charged with translating a message that comes from our galactic neighborhood, not just here on Earth. Enjoyment, it's been spectacular. It's also led to some real rough times, too. Quite often, especially in the beginning, there were those who would look at me and feel that I had probably gone around the bend somewhere. However, as we've come closer and closer to the time of enlightenment that we're coming into now, for example, if I had used the word quantum, which I did 30 years ago, I said, well, this is a quantum tool. Now, that was a word that was not in anybody's vocabulary except somebody in a science department at a university. So I couldn't really engage in a conversation, and that was difficult for a while. But it's been the greatest joy. It's been the highest honor.
You ready for some calls?
I'd love to take some calls.
That's what we're going to do this entire hour. Me too. First-time caller line, it's Dennis in Riverside, California. Hi, Dennis.
Hi. I was just great show. I love your show.
Thank you, Dennis.
And I was wondering about